think we'll keep going up. I think we see $100,000 Bitcoin here in this next halving cycle. Probably by the end of the decade, we're, over $1 million Bitcoin. And so what happens in the next 3 or 4 months doesn't really matter to me. I think the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years is very, very clear. Yeah, sure. Bitcoin is down from its $69,000 high in November 2021. So it's down from that, but it's also up 70% this year. It's also up 200% in the last 30 months. So it's also up 10 million percent over the last 7, 8 years. So what period do you want to look at? So what we want to look at is it going up and to the right? There's no asset in the world, not even the US dollar, and measured in the Dixie, nothing goes up or down in a straight line. Things stair step up or they stair step down. And so volatility, what people are afraid of, and people would say Bitcoin can't work because it's too volatile. Again, it's an evolutionary process. Just because it is that today doesn't mean it'll always be that way. But how do you go from 0 to 30,000 without volatility? And the answer is you don't. So it's a volatile process. But rather than going, well, it's down from a high, I look at, well, look where it came from. That's the glass half full. And so with technologies, especially when you have brand new revolutionary technologies like Bitcoin, the price, the US dollar value doesn't tell you the information that you want. So for example, if I'm a venture capital investor and I'm investing into this like brand new ride sharing app called Uber, I would go, well, they're saying, hey, Mark, invest into Uber. I'm raising $100 million. I'm like, where the heck did you come up with $100 million? That doesn't make sense. Well, the taxi industry is this big. Rideshare industry is this big. Van is this big. If I get 5% of all those, that's $100 million. So then I say, okay, fine, I'll invest. Well, then as a venture capital investor, that company valuation is not public. It's not marked to market. And so it goes for about a decade, about 10 years before they actually get like a public listing. So it's able to grow for a decade. But imagine, if you were watching Uber being priced daily. Oh, they got another city. They're going into San Francisco. Oh, New York City taxi cabs filed lawsuits. Oh, they're moving into Austin. Oh, now Dallas is shutting them down. And the price would go up and down. And so, but what you want to watch when you're looking at new technologies is two things, not the price, two things. One, is the network growing? So it's network effects. The more people that use it, the more valuable it is. And so we can see the network effects of Bitcoin from the amount of wallets using it to the hash power of the mining network and a bunch of other metrics. It is going up like a rocket ship. And the second thing we want to look for is development on the network. So did Uber get more riders? Did they get more drivers? Did they get more cities? That's the growth. And then two, did they develop? Now they have Uber Eats. Now they have a new app, right? And so Bitcoin has so much development happening. The technology is advancing so quickly. So those things are going up like a rocket ship. The price, it's volatile. It's going up and down. To answer the second question, will it go back down to 15,000, 13,000, 10,000? If anybody could tell us that 100%, they'd be the richest person in the history of the world, and they won't, and they aren't. And so I would look at it a different way. Could Bitcoin get down to 15,000 again this year? I would say it depends. I think the greater macro picture, which I know we'll get into maybe next, is probably really in control. And when I say the greater macro picture, like if the entire economy and markets crash 50% from here, like Bitcoin probably draws down. Maybe it does get down to those levels, but I don't know if that happens. It's not even actually my base case. So while it's certainly possible, it's not my most probable scenario. My most probable scenario is I think the Bitcoin bottom was probably found already. I think we continue going up. Into this halving cycle, which you mentioned. So about every 4 years, the new supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. So if demand stays the same, supply gets cut in half. That pushes the price up. So I think we'll keep going up. I think we see $100,000 Bitcoin here in this next halving cycle. Probably by the end of the decade, we're over $1 million Bitcoin. And so what happens in the next 3 or 4 months doesn't really matter to me. I think the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years is very, very clear. Hey, this is Mark Moss, and you are watching Think Smart Education.